Yes, people. Yes, people. Black Eyes TV in the house once again. You see the symbol. You know what time it is. It's information, knowledge, and wisdom time. Today, I'm very happy because we're joined by a guest that I wanted for a good while. Someone who I've watched throughout the years, give me joke, impart knowledge, be an activist, do a lot of things. Who's joining us today, Mr. Leo Mohammed, talking to us about overstanding self and standing on the reparations movement, which he's a part of. But before we speak about brother and he introduces himself and starts to talk about his journey, then we move over to Mr. Riggsy. Where you there, brother? Talk to the
Oh,
people.
yes, people. Greetings to the whole family. Greetings to the NOI. Greetings to all organizations out there. Greetings to every black paradigm that we have as we enjoying this heat that has been hitting us and activating us and motivating us to do and accomplish the missions that we're supposed to be doing. Then running wild like a headless chicken and doing the wrong things that we shouldn't be doing. But today is a day of reconciling and understanding what we're going to talk about today in forms of information and in forms of understanding and looking at the path of what people have gone through to be able to get a better understanding, as we will call it, the school of thoughts. So understanding that every school is different, but every school has its path and understanding. So what we always talk about is unification without association, understanding that we need to come together as a people to able to work things forward. So this is why we're talking about these reparations and why it's significant about this reparations. But we have to look at to understanding the people that are in front of us on their life path and why they stand beside it. So I'm going to introduce Leo and ask him the first question. Mr. Leo, who are you and what are you about?
Okay, brother. Well, first of all, in the name of Allah, the beneficent, the most merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger. I want to greet you, my beloved brother, and our brother Terry, also in the studio. I'm talking to Terry, but our other brother, what's the brother?
Richie.
Brother Richie. I want to greet brother Richie as well, and all those who may be watching or listening or observing this. And the greeting words of peace, we say it in the ancient tongue of Arabic. Assalamu alaikum. It's a wonderful question, brother. For many years as a young man growing up in the United Kingdom, I used to ask myself the same question, not in a very articulate way, but I wondered who I was, what was my relationship to this universal reality. And for many, many years, I was ignorant to that answer. I could say to you today that I'm an original man, I'm a black man, I'm a brother. I don't see myself as a big shot or any big thing. I'm just one of the little brothers who has come up having an appreciation that we have a tremendous and glorious history behind us as a people, that we are a very special and beautiful people, very, very wonderful people in truth. We are the mothers and fathers of civilization, that without us, there would be no other people on the planet because we are those who produce them. I understand that as a black man, it makes me a very special and unique individual, but not exclusively in terms of other black men or other black people. And so I like to take my place among the masses of our people as one of those who has come up now understanding the legacy of the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, understanding the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and of course, the living legend who is still here with us today, my leader, teacher, and guide, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and really recognizing all of the great ancestors, all of the powerful people who have laid the foundation that you and I stand on today, I like to see myself in that vein, to see myself as somebody who recognizes that because of our history, because of what our people went through, because of what we've suffered, because of the legacy of that history, I have a duty to myself, to my family, to my people, to try to be part of the solution and no longer to be part of the problem by being ignorant to the knowledge of myself. And so, as a result of coming into this type of knowledge, I became a member of the Nation of Islam in the early 90s. And that really was the catalyst for opening my eyes to knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. And I'm a student. I study. I spend a great deal of time studying into the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad as taught and exemplified by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And I try to carry what I learn into practice rather than a theoretical teaching where I say from my lips what I don't do in action. I try to live what I believe. And as a result of that, I've been very active over, some 30 years or so now. First of all, I became known as a Black activist. I was involved way back in the anti-apartheid movement and demonstrations. Oftentimes when there were demonstrations outside South Africa House and other places, myself and a great brother by the name of Spartacus R, we used to do some really great things when it came to anti-apartheid demonstrations. Quite often on those demonstrations, there'll be very few Black people, lots of Caucasians, but I would be one of the Black faces that you might see in those situations. I came through the uprisings of 81 and 85, battled hand-to-hand combat on the street with the police. Before that, in my days of ignorance, I was into some criminality, went to prison, went to Borstal, went to incarcerated in many of these institutions as a very young man, very ignorant young man, very angry young man. But as I said, as a result of coming into the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, I feel that my life has been completely transformed. And now I spend my time to the best of my ability, going up and down this country and in other parts of the world, and of course on the internet, trying to bring enlightenment and guidance to the best of my ability as a student to those who care to listen and those who want to participate in what I would call this process of repair, this process of reparations. Hence why I'm involved in the reparations movement, and of course have been involved for the last 5 years or so in the annual reparations march. So that's kind of like in a nutshell, what I'm about as an individual.
Okay, so I want to ask, in the time of there's a specific video that went viral in the Speaker's Corner, and you stated subjects of information for the public in the thing behind the scenes of what creates this and why we going forward in this reparations. That specific video, what actually made you go to the Speaker's Corner?
The reasons for going to Hyde Park Speaker's Corner were multiple. One of the reasons why we went was because the government at the time had launched a fairly diabolical and quite relentless attack against the Nation of Islam, not just in North America, but also here in the United Kingdom. And so we wanted to go into the public to let it be known that we knew about the attack, we knew what they were attempting to do, and we were basically warning the government to keep their hands off the Nation of Islam. One of the other reasons why we went into the park was to train the brothers, the men who are members of the Nation of Islam. We're called the FOI, the Fruit of Islam. And the idea was to train the brothers to be able to expound on the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad in a hostile environment. where one would be challenged as to what we believe and what we say, and that we would stand firm and steadfast in the face of that hostility. And so it was a training ground for our brothers to be able to go and prove the veracity of the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And, you know, we also went there because we wanted to utilize that place, which was set up in the 17th century by a very wise English government who understood how to dissipate the anger and the frustration of the masses of their people by creating a place where people could go and vent. It's a place of free speech where you can go there, and doesn't matter what kind of loony, crazy idea you may have, you can go to Speaker's Corner and you can speak it. You can say whatever it is that you want to say. And many, many very, very famous individuals, Tony Benn from the Labour Party and others, and many of those people who are now famous historically as great political thinkers and minds have been to Speaker's Corner and have expounded on their belief systems and their philosophies and whatever. And so we wanted to utilize that place because
they even mentioned Messiah Garvey being there and debating.
Yeah,
do you know of that?
Absolutely, yeah? Yes, sir. That's what I'm saying. I mean, many, many very, very powerful speakers have graced that particular space historically, and so we wanted to do the same and to bring the teachings to a wider audience in Speaker's Corner.
Do you have any history on that, on the Marcus Garvey one, of him debating and who he was debating at the time?
No, I don't. No, I don't. But I'm pretty sure, brother, that if we were to research, there would be some information out there.
Okay. Yeah. So Richie.
Yeah, brother.
Rich.
I don't want to cheat the audience that's watching, because I know a lot of people have recognized you long before even Nation Islam as an entertainer, an actor, comedian, and in a groundbreaking program as far as the UK goes, the Real McCoy, which has never been shown, it's never been repeated again. There's never been anything like it. So again, you know, I want to thank you for that, because a lot of the time we can talk about serious matters and activism, but having good reflection in our entertainment and our relaxation time is just as important. So you being a part of that is definitely a big thing, something that a lot of people recognize. I mean, how do you feel about that time that you was in that show, and how do you feel about the fact that they've never showed it again? Like, what does that tell you when you are asked that, or when people who were fans of the show ask you why they've never seen it again?
Well, you know, can I say, brother, that in truth, the Real McCoy, I'm very glad that you raised it, because it's a very, very important part of our discussion. Because believe it or not, it was also a significant part of the repair process. You know, I've been doing what traditionally is called comedy, but what we called edutainment for the longest time, and for the same amount of time that I've been active as a serious activist. You know, really moving into the 30-year plus mark now, and it was in parallel with my activism that I got into acting, and ultimately became part of the cast of The Real McCoy, one of the principal writers and actors on that show. And from the very outset, I recognized that here was an opportunity where we could use comedy as a vehicle for helping our people. Because you see, brother, if you were to become ill, or if I was to become ill and found ourselves suffering from some ailment, you know, believe me, if somebody was to come along and make you laugh and cheer you up, it's a significant and fundamental part of the healing process. And so I have been interviewed on numerous occasions and asked about comedy. And one of the things I have said on occasion is that comedy is a very, very serious business. And so I used it in that way. And we use comedy as a doctor might use bitter medicine, because a doctor who is wise, he will sugarcoat bitter tasting medicine so that when it goes initially into the mouth, it tastes sweet and nice, but then it can go down and do its bitter work of healing. And so we couched very serious issues on that program. I was writing some very serious subject matter and couching it in humor in order to get our people not just laughing, but nodding at the same time and saying, boy, that's true, you know. And to a great degree, it worked. And then that moves into the second part of your question as to why it was never shown again, because there was a battle taking place over the 5 years that we were on the BBC with the Real McCoy. There was a battle in the BBC between those who thought that they were commissioning yet another chimpanzee program where black people were going to come on, and we'd be so happy just to be on TV that we'd be happy to scratch where we didn't itch, and we'd be happy to act like monkeys and demean ourselves. And of course, some of us had different ideas. And so the higher ups at the BBC, they began to recognize that there was a content in this show that they didn't commission. They didn't reckon on that. They didn't like that. And so they began sabotaging and doing all manner of things. Some people will remember that, you know, halfway through a program run of 6 episodes, because it was 6 episodes a year for 5 years, halfway through, they would literally change the time of the broadcast. Our black people would be getting ready for 11:30 at night for the Real McCoy, whatever. And then they would switch the time. And so you'd be tuning in at one time, but it would be coming on at another time. They would disrupt the flow of the show by constantly switching our directors, and we lost cast members. And initially they were trying to use Curtis and Ishmael as the linchpins of the show, but then our dear brother Ishmael got into a little bit of trouble, and because they were employed as a double act, they were kind of like moved out, and Robbie G, myself, and Eddie Nestor were moved in. Of course, it couldn't be a solid black program. We had to have Asian people pushed in there as well. So of course, Mira Sayal and Kulvinder Gier and others were foisted into the show. And it was a constant battle trying to keep it black, to be completely honest with you, because the Asian people had their own agenda. As you saw later on the demise of the Real McCoy, then you had the Kumars, goodness gracious me, and God knows whatever else came up for the Asians, and there were no black people in those.
That's
and
right.
so it was once they couldn't find a legitimate excuse to stop the show, they just pulled it after the last series. That last series, which was of course the best series of all, has never been repeated. But the reason for that, in a nutshell, brother, is that if they repeat the show, of course they have to pay Leo Mohammed repeat fees, and the higher ups and I suspect elements within the government itself determined that this brother must not eat. And so this is one of the fundamental reasons why this show was stopped, because Leo Mohammed must not eat, and my type of writing and influence must not become normal and normalized, and black people mustn't receive this type of information, which potentially can do tremendous good for us. And so that's what I believe. I've been reliably told by a producer at the BBC that is fact, and that they blacklisted me, and that I'm a person who is, you know, not supposed to really see the airwaves or be exposed in that way, because they're terrified of somebody who is principled and will stand on the basis of truth and doesn't get excited about fame and fortune, because that's not the motivation, but really is a person motivated to see our people go free. And so, you know, that's the kind of spin That's really what's happened with the Real McCoy. And not a day goes by, brother, believe me. It's been nearly 30 years since that program has been on TV. 1995 was the last time that was shown on television, and not a day goes by that just this morning in Dunstable, a person came up to me and was asking me, when is the Real McCoy coming back? So that's how popular that particular show was. We never really taped Desmond's. We never really taped, you know, some of the other black shows, Lenny Henry and whatever. But this was the first time that we would run home to tape a show when the Real McCoy was on mainstream television.
Well, I mean, the thing I want to stress, especially to our anybody who hasn't seen the Real McCoy, and I've shown it to a couple of our American viewers and seen some clips on YouTube, but people need to understand how this program catered to the entire diaspora, yeah, that we have of black people, like shows for the Dominicans, shows for the Jamaicans, shows for the Africans. Like they had skits catering for all aspects of the black community. It was genius. Yeah. And I don't even think that, like when I speak to Americans and other people, it's like they don't even think we're capable of that kind of sharp, hard-hitting humor certain time. So it, you know, it always amazes me again how much of a secret they've kept it. And again, it makes me happy to be able to at least hear it from the horse's mouth. And I didn't know that you wrote a lot of the script. That is new information for me personally. So,
even the name of the show came from myself. Initially, when we went to the BBC to have a discussion about their idea for a black program, they didn't seem to have much of an idea about what they wanted to do, except that they wanted to do some type of comedy sketch show. And the initial idea that Charlie Hanson, who is the producer behind shows like Desmond's and others, Charlie Hanson, when we asked him, you know, what were you thinking about calling it? He said flick. And then when we said, well, what do you mean flick? He literally did that with his fingers as a white man saying, you know, what black people do, flick. This was the idea he had for the program. But as I said, being a student, at the time I was studying, and I was at the time studying Elijah McCoy, who was a black inventor who is responsible for things like the ironing board, various oils, and, you know, tremendous inventions that made life a lot easier for people, especially using machinery, and machinery being able to oil itself continuously whilst producing, because before his inventions, they had to turn off machinery to oil them. And so he invented this thing called a drip cup, which is what you find in most internal combustion engines today. And so his inventions were so good that when anybody wanted his invention, they would ask the question, is it the Real McCoy? And so I suggested this to the BBC, and they hummed and hawed a little bit, and okay, well, we'll see. And then they went away, and about 3 weeks later, they came back and said, yep, we're going with the Real McCoy. So that's where even the title of the show came from your little brother, Leo Mohammed, who was studying the black inventor, Elijah McCoy, at the time.
That's all. So, I mean, let's move to the reparations movement, because again, we know this is a 5-year anniversary. Our brother Riggsy's putting up the flyers. Let me just give the people a chance to look at it while we're talking. Yeah, I mean, the reparations movement now, it's in its 5th year anniversary. What drew you, or what got you involved? And, you know, for you, what does reparations mean? Because again, as we talked to Brother Kwaku yesterday, you know, the immediate headspace that most people have when they hear that word is money. White people, they have to give it, we must receive it, done and dusted. But to you, what does that mean, and how did you come to be involved with the movement?
Well, you know, brother, one of our greatest reparationists in this country, and I would venture to say throughout the world, is our beloved Sister Esther Stanford. And she is currently working on her PhD on the subject of reparations. And for her PhD, she was interviewing various activists who have been involved in the reparations movement and other aspects of the liberation struggle, you know, for their views. And she interviewed me, and the first question she asked me was, how does the Nation of Islam relate to reparations? And my reply to her was, my dear sister, the Nation of Islam is all about reparations. It is a reparations movement. And so what do I mean by that? You know, brother, this whole process that we are involved in, that Leo Mohammed is involved in, first and foremost, what I've been doing over the last 30 years is attempting some self-repair. You know, because it's very unfortunate. I'm involved in an academy that runs on a Saturday, where we try to educate Black boys into their manhood, where we try to help them to become future leaders, where we demonstrate to those young boys their leadership potential, which is inherent within each and every one of them. And this is the WYLA, the West London Young Leaders Academy. And within that place, you know, brother, what I try to impart to the young people is a sense of repair. Because see what it is, the young people, and again, what we do, we're trying to educate the young people as to who they are and what they can achieve. But one of the things that we recognize is that you can do that with the young boys, starting from 8 years old, going all the way up to 16. But if the parents themselves are not fully educated or re-educated as to the knowledge of their own selves, they can actually undo much of the work that can be done in the academy with the young people. And so what we recognized was that, you know, what we encourage parents to do now is that all of us, and I'm talking, by the way, as a Jamaican, and I know that Jamaicans can be very hard-headed and stubborn people. And one of the worst things that you can hear come out of the mouth of a Jamaican is "Choma minora taredi." And that's one of the most stupidest statements that we can ever make in life. Minora taredi. Because once we say we know it already, what we're doing is we're closing off every avenue to future learning, growth, and development. Definitely. And so what we encourage the parents of these young boys to do, and what we encourage Black people as a whole to do, is first and foremost, we must humble ourselves. Secondly, we must appreciate that all of our education thus far, all of the scholarships that we have thus far, we have primarily received all of this from the same system, from the same people who abused us for 400 years in slavery or colonialism. The reality is that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan asked a question like this. He says, if a man won't treat you right, what makes you think that same man will teach you right? So as a people, we've been miseducated. And we've been miseducated, not just in terms of book learning or in terms of, you know, the 3 R's, you know, reading, writing, arithmetic. We've been miseducated about the knowledge of ourselves. And so most of us as a people, we have no concept of who we really are. And so reparations is primarily about that. Reparations is about going now and taking a deep introspective look at self. And it's a very misunderstood term, brother, as you rightly said, because as you again said, most of our people, when they hear this term, they're thinking about money. And to be completely honest with you, brother, if the white man was to turn around tomorrow and give every single Black man and woman £50,000 in their hands, within 2 weeks, that money will be back in the hands of the white man.
That's it.
It's really not about money. It's much deeper than that. And of course, I'm sure that Brother Kwaku would have expounded on the fact that we use the Chinwezu, the Professor Chinwezu, the Nigerian professor's definition of reparations. And even though Brother Kwaku I'm sure would have gone into it. I would like to go into it again because it's very informative as to what it is that we are really talking about when we use this term reparations. And Chingwenzu said, let me begin by noting that reparation is not just about money. It is not even mostly about money. In fact, money is not even 1% of what reparation is about. Reparation is mostly about making repairs, self-made repairs on ourselves, mental repairs, psychological repairs, cultural repairs, organizational repairs, social repairs, institutional repairs, technological repairs, economic repairs, political repairs, educational repairs, repairs of every type that we need in order to recreate a sustainable Black society is more important than any monies to be received, more fundamental than any lands to be recovered. I want to come back to that point in a minute because that's where I would have a slight disagreement with my brother on his definition, but nevertheless, he goes on to say it's the opportunity the reparations campaign offers us for the rehabilitation of Black people, by Black people, for Black people, opportunities for the rehabilitation of our minds, our material condition, our collective reputation, our cultures, our memories, our self-respect, our religious or political traditions, and our family institutions. But first and foremost, for the rehabilitation of our minds. You know, brother, that's what reparations is about. It's really not an outward looking thing. It's not an externally finger pointing thing. It's very much about Black people taking that very close introspective look at self, who we are, reacquainting ourselves with ourselves, reforming relationships, rebuilding the Black family, understanding that that was what was destroyed has to be repaired. You see, but we've been miseducated to the degree where we think, oh, we can just move on. And you have white people who will tell you this nonsense about you know, man, that was so long ago. Forget the past. Can't we just move on? Then you got Black people parroting that kind of nonsense. Can't we all just get along? You know, why do we have to keep talking about this Black stuff? Let me tell you something, man. If we don't talk about this Black stuff, if we don't get this stuff right, then we will remain perpetually disadvantaged and used and abused and possibly even returned back into a capacity of servitude slaves. Because if we don't learn from history, brother, then history has a habit of repeating itself. And so it's critically important that we understand that this reparations that we're talking about is really about our psychological, mental, social, political, family, and everything to do with us becoming a sovereign, independent people like we were before we were forcibly integrated, thrust into the governorship of Caucasian people. And even though many of us now are so devoid of the knowledge of history that we think that this is a normal state of affairs. You know, you got Black people running around. Our name is Smith, Jones, Robinson, Green, Brown, Mr. Hogg, Mr. White. These are Black people, brother. It doesn't make any sense because you're literally signing somebody else's name to identify self. And so it's critically important that as a people, we recognize that if we continue in that vein, then we can never be successful. And that this is one of the reasons why you can see Eastern Europeans and other people fly into the country and within 3 minutes, they've got infrastructure and they've got stuff going on and they've got, you know, communities and whatever. And Black people who have been here literally going back to the Romans. And of course, you know, most of us think we arrived on the Empire Windrush in 1948. But even if you go back to that time, in excess of 50 years ago, we haven't got one building that we can point to and say, that's the Black house. That's the place that is where there are social or political or economic happenings that you can point to and say, you know, that's the mind of the black man and the black woman or the black family. It doesn't exist. Why? Because we're the only people in the country who have bought into an idea of integration into somebody else's reality whilst we disintegrate among ourselves. When you have a Polish man will fly in tomorrow and he's a Caucasian, looks just like the English white man. And if the two of them were standing together on the high street, you wouldn't be able to tell which one is Polish and which one is English. But the Polish man, even though he looks just like the English man, the Polish man, when he comes here, he don't come here to become no English man. He comes here to open a shop with a Polish name on the front of it called Plakinski or whatever. And he intends to make his money and send that money back to Poland to build up infrastructure for himself and his people. And nobody would dare call that Polish man a racist because he's looking out for his Polish family. But we, as black people, we become embarrassed at the idea of black people coming together to build and do something for ourselves. And this is what reparations is about. It's healing that fractured mind, that mindset of black inferiority that makes us think that the only way we can make progress in life is to integrate ourselves out of ourselves, is to destroy our own unique personality in order to be something that somebody has made up. No, sir. And so, you know, to me, that's the real importance of reparations, my dear brother. And just very quickly, you know, on the subject of the march, for instance, we hear over and over again, man, we are march, we march too much, man. We want to stop the march. Marching now, go achieve nothing. You see, again, there is a misunderstanding. Because if people think that we're marching because we think the march somehow is going to persuade Caucasian people to give us reparations, or they're going to change their minds, or the march is going to be so influential that all of a sudden people are going to say, well, okay, the black people are marching, everything is going to change. No, 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 no. We march simply for us. The idea is for us as a people to come together from all of our disparate places, all of our different faith traditions, all of our different persuasions, all of our different walks of life, for black people once a year to come together in solidarity, to show some black power, to demonstrate that we are actually here, that we exist. Because believe it or not, black people are becoming more and more invisible, in particular the black man, literally invisible in the United Kingdom, because there's a concerted effort to destroy black males. And whether we really appreciate it or not, this is something that's ongoing, and it's actually, they're having tremendous success with the incarceration of us in prisons and mental institutions, and turning many of us now into homosexuals through chemical castration and other means, using biochemistry in foods and drinks and all manner of things, and also in the weed that we smoke. They are doctoring these things in such a way that they are turning males into females and females into males. So we're at war. We're at war, brother. That's my point. And reparations is about fixing ourselves up.
No, listen, I'm definitely with you. I think Brother Kwaku echoed your sentiments 100%. And he made this statement as well. We cannot expect reparations from white people. That is a misnomer. We can get compensation, but we cannot get reparations from them. We can't expect that.
Right.
As I said, that is a black on black experience.
That's right, my brother.
Yeah, so I'm definitely with you. And again, for anyone who didn't tune into our show yesterday with Brother Kwaku, again, I want you to really take that point in to your brain, let it sink in, let that go in, because again, the misnomer is it's about money, it's about marching. These are facts, these are things that aren't going to work. White people are not going to be interested. But yeah, before we move on with the interview and we talk about your connection to the actual reparations march. I know Terry wants to speak on a couple of events that's going on quickly, and
so yeah.
I just want to say big up to the chat room as well. Everybody that's supporting, everyone that's commenting and liking the video. You know the routine: like, share, subscribe, do the usual. Over to you, Riggsy. Your screen is being shared; they can see it.
Okay, so people, as we know of this reparations march, and we know that we need people to arrive for this reparations march, to doing this march at meeting in the Brixton at 9 o'clock in the morning, all the way till the evening. It's time for us at the Brixton,
Windrush Square.
At the Windrush Square, and I will let me quickly just put that flyer back up just to show you kind of like details of what is going on that in that format. Hold on, we get back into that reparations. Can you see the reparations flyer?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and then the reparations flyer, it starts at 9 a.m. at the Brixton Windrush Square, which they will be doing their representations of a little bit of talking and libations. And once they've finished all the introductions and libations, the march will start to begin around 12 noon, I think, towards Parliament Square. And getting there, we'll be Parliament Square. We'll be in 3 minutes silence to the ancestors, and then the debate of Parliament Square, and then the delivery of
this year, brother. I'm going to be the person hosting the debate in Parliament Square. So it will be Brother Leo Mohammed who will be hosting the debate in Parliament Square this year.
What does that involve? When you say debate, what does that involve, brother? Sorry.
What we do is each year we have looked at a different aspect of the struggle, a different subject matter within the framework of reparations, things that are going on within the Black community, and then we will generally have a pro argument and a con argument. So we'll have two sides of the argument, and we will have a debate among those who come to represent the two sides, just so that our people can be more informed about those types of issues and as how they pertain to the Black community, because quite often we just don't have those debates and have them in a sensible way where they don't degenerate into people calling each other names, but it's a constructive argument that is put from both sides to see the merits or otherwise of those particular arguments as they pertain to, you know, our struggle and as our people.
Okay.
So we have a moderator. We have a for the last several years, Sister Jendai has been the moderator of it, but this year I'm going to be the person who's going to be in that particular hot seat, just trying to moderate the discussion, the debate, and get our people engaged in having this type of lawful dialogue where we practice talking to one another and even learning how to disagree and not become disagreeable.
Okay, so yeah, I'm going to continue on the next event, which is it kind of works together, because you know I've been talking very much on that we need to able to take our history back, is to able to take in the whole of August back, as in August is our activation year. It's the year of Marcus Garvey, it's the year of reparations, the year of Carnival, it's the year of even Windrush and even the revolution. You know, August is a powerful month at the time of when that sun comes up and activates us into doing what we need to do within that month. As we know, the other counterparts, they go on holiday and they disappear and there's no one in Parliament. But you know what it is that we have an event straight after the reparations, which is on the 1st. We got an event on the 4th and the 5th, which we are calling it the Black History Weekend, taking back this weekend and saying that, you know what, August is our Black History. If we're going to choose any of the months out of the whole year, August should be our month of celebrations. As we said, we got the carnival at that month. So on that day, we have what we call the Black History Weekender, which the theme is to become a village to raising a child. So in us to able to do that, we need to put our bags down. We need to relax for this whole weekend. And, you know, as in what they will say, that where they're going on holiday, we're going to take our holiday in about becoming that tourist once again. And to becoming that tourist once again, we're going to take our children as family. And I'm not talking about the immediate family within your household, but I'm talking about a family as us coming together as one big family. Unification without association. We are all the same people, depending on whatever paradigm you think you're coming from. We are the same people. So for us to be able to do that, we're going to go and explore in the forms of Black history, which we have many Black history organizations that do tours. So from when you have the Black History Walk, you have the Black History Studies, you have Narrative Eye, you have many companies and industries that are doing this stuff on ground, which they're going to help, where we start from 9 o'clock, from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock. We're asking for people to reach what we call the obelisk, the Cleopatra Needle, which is a part of our history from Africa, and then liberate and come together and to able to even do libations and to have a discussion. Once we reach there on the 4th of that place at the obelisk, we're going to the Nelson's Column. Some people will say, "Wow, why are we going to this Nelson's Column?" But we have fantastic rich history at the Nelson's Column, which Narrative Eye, who we know of the Blackamoors Tudor England, and who his name is Oyinka, and his group of people, which is Narrative Eye, who are going to do a breakdown of that what they call it, Nelson's Column. Now, from then, once we enjoy and understand the information and talk about and take our drum around this place, we're going to go into the National Museum, the National Gallery Museum, which we have a tour guide of a guy called Michael, who's going to break down the Black presence. Because what we're doing is we're taking back our history and we're taking it to showing our youth what we were doing and what we were about. These are part of instances of the reparation of understanding. So then once we've gone through this National Gallery Museum, we're going to come out and then we're going to go to the plaque near the British Museum, which is where Mary Prince was, who elaborated and did her thing and did her paradigm and created a book before we go into the British Museum and looking at the Black presence of the British Museum. Once we've done that British Museum, now the next part we're going to is we're going to have a little bit of enjoyment. We're going to go to Bob Marley's house, who is round the corner. And then we're going to do our libations once again, representing that he fought a struggle through his music. And then from the Bob Marley's, we're going to go to the place where Olu Equiano stayed, just round the corner from there. We're going to represent and do our libations. We're going to show our gratitude on the struggle of slavery, of what he was fighting and trying to get through for our people. So we're going to, once we've gone from there, we're now going to go straight to the venue, which is Aquilam Village. And then Aquilam Village is where we're going to have our speakers from the United States and speakers from the UK. And we're going to even have a bonus special guest, a prince, not even a princess, a queen from Angola speaking her speech. So we're going to collaborate, work together, and not only with that whole paradigm of speakers and music, we're going to have an African market. So because you know one thing we need to do, we need to have an economical system. So we need to start buying from our own so that we can improve. So I always say, if you see someone working in a black shop and you know that it's a black product, you don't even have to spend expensively. If you just buy one small thing, you are donating to making us grow as one people. So from that day, that is the 4th. Now the 5th of August, we're going to meet up at what we call the Victoria and Albert Museum. From the Victoria and Albert Museum, we're going to do the Black Presence, understanding where our stances are, understanding how they saw us in their paradigm, understanding all the treasures that we have within that museum. Once we finish that, we will now be going to Marcus Garvey's house, where Marcus Garvey lived, worked, and had a park representing him. We talk about his paradigm. Once we've finished and done the libations and the excitement of seeing that he actually died here before they took his body to Jamaica, we're going to go to Hammersmith and we're going to break down some of the atrocities, as including some of the black presence within Hammersmith. Once we've done that, we're going to go straight to Labatt Grove, because Labatt Grove is a vital place. Then the first place we're going to go to is Amy Garvey. Remembering that Amy Garvey took that torchlight after Marcus Garvey and even took that the organization to Manchester, where there is even a plaque in Manchester. So we have to do our libations and thanking for her for all the great things that she has done and achieved. Once we go into that, we're going to go political. We're going to go to the Mango 9 site, where these guys actually got raided in their food place and they went against the government and went against the police and won their court case. You know, we need to talk about these things. We have to show that all the people that were fighting at that period of time. Then from Mango 9 site, we're going to go to the Carnival site, because we have one representative woman that is called Claudia Jones. Claudia Jones did a lot of things. Not only had a newspaper, she was an entrepreneur, but she actually one of the creators of the carnival that we go to every year. So there is many people that are around her that worked in that vicinity. And then the last spot is what created Notting Hill riot, the first riot, the man that actually died behind this riot, why these people happened. And then once we finish there, we come back to the Ackland village once again, as uniting our people, spending in our black market, and then we're able to discuss with speakers, having our music. And we know what, in the venue as well, I want people to come out and speak their mind, because we need solutions. We need ways, even though there is solutions on ground, because Marcus Garvey's already put something there. We can always upgrade it. As we know, Leo Mohammed has his own views and how he believes in how we can move forward. We need like-minded people coming together and giving us that grace. And the great thing about this whole thing, we will be trying to make this go live on Black Eyes TV 7 so that we can go viral. So we want everybody to share and share like on the things that we are trying to do. So I'm asking people to share, like, and subscribe and make this thing go viral so that we can have a voice to be heard. So at the end of the day, this is what we can do every year. We can take this August as our own, and we can take every month as it comes. So in saying that, that is the Black History Weekender. It takes a village to raise a child. Let's become a village once again, so we can provide all the things that we can give for our children. All these academies that we do on the weekends, like from the manhood, from what Brother Leo does, from Origin, Brother Yinka, all these schools, we need to highlight them and teach our children our culture, not just send them to the schools and leave them to teaching them their culture. We need to give us our culture. So in a nutshell, try to come to these events, from the reparations to this event. It's all the way 5 days, I say, from the 1st to the 5th. Make your agenda to arrive to all the events, because we need to teach our children. So let's get back to our dialogue and let's talk about where we are about with this reparations. Brother Richie, take it away.
All right. Big up, people. Thank you for supporting. We'll have all the links as usual later on the video for you to find out where's what. And again, you can always hit us up at the usual blackicetv7@gmail.com for any information that you may have missed, or just rewind the video and listen and look at the flyer again. All right, so we was talking now about your connection to the movement, to the present day reparations movement, how you got involved. You told a story about obviously when Esther first spoke to you, but year on year up until this point, I know obviously you've spoken a little bit about you manning the debate faction of it, but what other things are you involved in? Is there anything you want to highlight specifically about needing help with or support with, or you think that the community should be more supportive with the movement? You know, go in, tell us anything you need to know.
So thank you, brother. Well, first of all, just to really congratulate the brothers and sisters who are organizing the 4th and the 5th of August, because I think it's a tremendous idea, that weekender. And I do hope that our people will come out in their droves and support that type of educational process, that type of coming together, because, you know, these are the types of things which are really invaluable towards a process of recreating that village, because we have to appreciate that as Black people, we're the only ones who don't have any infrastructure that we can call our own. And it begins with people. It begins with people coming together. And then eventually we pool our resources where we can start to get, you know, this is when I was given the Chingwezu quote on reparations, when we got to the point where he said, more important than any monies to be received, more fundamental than any lands to be recovered. I did pause there, because I said, you know, one of the things, brothers and sisters, that we really need is land. And, you know, it's almost as if in this country, we've given up on the idea of having any land here, or, you know, appreciating that even in much of the Caribbean, we don't own the land. In much of the continent of Africa, we don't own the land. Other people have come in and usurped the ownership of the land. We may work it, we may be like squatters on it, but essentially those who are exploiting the resources and the wealth of our lands, mostly it's not us, it's somebody else. It's been done by remote control from the outside. We may be the ones whose physical hands they use to dig into the soil and take out the wealth, but in the end it's not us who are actually benefiting. And so I did take exception to that little bit within that definition, because believe me, Black family, we need land. And even a piece of land here, little pieces of land here, would be of tremendous importance if we understand how important it is to just grow a little bit of our food, to be able to eat from ourselves and take our mouths out of the enemy's kitchen, because this is what's making us very ill as a people. we used to not do the things that we're doing today, which is to just eat wholesale from these supermarkets and other places where much of the food is processed and much of it is poisoned either with chemicals and or preservatives and other things which are put into the foods, and then they go into our systems and they limit our ability to live at an optimum level. So I'm really encouraging us to think about land and the working of land, and being able to grow food and being able to put buildings and infrastructure on a piece of land that we can call our own. One of the principal things that I've been doing in the reparations march and in the movement for many years is really supplying security from the Nation of Islam perspective. The Nation of Islam, you know, we are soldiers for our people, and we make no apology in standing as a strong deterrent, a strong guard on behalf of our people. So we've been supplying the security, but we need more men. We need brothers to join the nation. We don't apologize for this. We want soldiers. We're looking for 1,000 fearless black men and women to become a part of this movement, because you see, again, if we don't appreciate the dynamics of politics and social realities and how these things work, power only respects power. And as long as they can't see a force within us as a people that's uniform, disciplined, and powerful, then they will never respect us. A lot of black people, you know, we get quite upset. We go into the Asian man's shop and put our money in his hand, and then he puts our change on the counter. And then says something detrimental in his own language. And we you know, we're always moaning and groaning, oh, you know, why are they disrespecting us? Well, to be completely honest with you, they can't respect us as long as we're not coming to the table with something of our own. Because we keep coming to the table basically like beggars, with no power, no structure to ourselves, no government that they have to be forced to negotiate with, then this is why we are treated in the manner in which we are treated. And so we're encouraging our people to come out and to come and be a part of something that is bigger than ourselves, and help to make the vision of the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey and the vision of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, make these visions a reality. Let's not pay lip service to our great ancestors, but let us fulfill their legacy. Let us be those persons who recognize that there is a line between them and us, and that line must remain unbroken, and that the sentiments that they voiced, the ideas that they expounded upon, that they postulated, that these are ideas whose time has come. As we live in 2018, going deeper into the 21st century, the black man and the black woman's time is now. There's never been a time, brothers and sisters, greater than today for us to really fulfill our destiny. There's no question in my mind about this. And I believe that the enemy knows this, and the enemy is working overtime to try to divert us into drink, drug, alcohol, bad food, illicit sex, you name it, whatever he can find to divert us, sport and play, watching the television, whatever he can find to divert us away from our great destiny, which is to literally occupy the seat of power. He's working on it right now, and I'm encouraging us. And by the way, for those who may not know, I'm back in Hyde Park Speaker's Corner. I can't guarantee that I'm there every single week, but we are there on 1 week on, 1 week off, 2 weeks on, a week off, that type of thing. But just keep an eye on the social media where we post the information. And I'm really encouraging black people to come to Hyde Park Speaker's Corner. Now, I know since we were there in the 90s, a lot of young brothers and sisters have started going there. And the tendency is for them to go there in the late afternoon, going into the evening, and there's a lot of toing and froing, a lot of free arguments being thrown around the place or whatever, very indisciplined. And we appreciate, you know, the passion that these young people have in trying to conduct these debates and whatever. But we go there as members of the Nation of Islam from 11 a.m. in the morning. That's when we start speaking. And we are encouraging our people to get out of your bed on a Sunday morning. Don't be sleeping all morning and then, you know, strolling into the park in the afternoon in that very leisurely way, as if it's a little jokey kind of thing that we're doing. But let's turn that spot into a black spot at 11 a.m. going on for a couple of hours on a Sunday morning, where we go down there and again make our presence felt as a people. Come out and support your nation. Come out and be a part of what is a tremendous movement that is now building momentum once again to really put Black people back on the map. And so I'm, you know, encouraging our people to be a part of that and to come out and support that, because some of these racist Arabs and others who go there, very, very disrespectful of our people, claiming to be Muslims, but motivated by pure evil against Black people. And we want to expose them. We want to expose all of the hypocrites and liars who come in the name of religion and are really foisting fairy tales onto our people. We really want to start giving a proper exegesis, a proper breakdown of what, you know, God is all about, what Satan is all about, where we stand in the picture, in the bigger picture of things, and how we should be moving today if we ultimately want to be a successful people. So this is some of the things that, you know, I'm involved in. We want to, we've launched something called the BBC, which is the Black Building Campaign, because we believe that we've reached that stage now where traditionally what's happened is that they say, Black people, we don't have any trust for one another. Because again, what happens traditionally is that we put a little bit of money into something, and then the organizer takes the money and runs off and goes and has a holiday in Bermuda, or I don't know, buy his white girlfriend a car or some craziness. But I believe that we've reached the stage now. I can speak for myself personally, as a man with in excess of 30-year track record in this liberation process. And at some point, brothers and sisters, we're gonna have to learn to trust somebody. And we have to pool resources. We have to have a system where we can start to put some monies together in order that you and I can secure some land and a building that we can call our own. A multi-purpose building where, as Black people, we can finally have something where if a Japanese tourist flies into the UK, they can actually say, oh, that's the Black building over there, and they can come and take their photographs and send them back to Japan and show them that Black people in the UK got something going on. And so in order for us to do that, we need to come together. We need to pool resources. We need to save the money together. And I believe that we can do this very easily. Over 30 billion pounds goes through Black people's hands every year in the United Kingdom. I'm going to say the figure again. 30 billion pounds goes through our hands every year. But unlike the Jewish community, where the pound stays in their community for up to 30 days, goes around up to 30 days, unlike other communities where the pound goes around 20 days and 15 days. According to statistics, the Black pound, or the Black dollar in the case of North America, stays in the Black community approximately 6 hours. So in other words, as soon as we get that money, it goes back into somebody else's hands. I mean, it's a terrible thing, brother. It's a terrible thing. Terrible thing. Not even a day, brother. 6 hours. You see, and this has to change, because it's not like we haven't got money. We do have money, but we don't trust each other, and so we refuse to spend with one another. But if we could only develop that trust, and if we can, we're working right now on a system that we can put together that would be foolproof, whereby the monies that we put together for our building is secure and safe, and that there is accountability, and we can measure where we are on a month-by-month basis, and then we can actually collectively purchase something that is substantial, and that we can then have something where Black groups and organizations and the community can use 24 hours, 7 days a week. We don't have to get kicked out at 11:30 p.m. of an evening because the building belongs to somebody else. We don't have to, wait and be disappointed every time we want to book a space, but we actually have a place where we can have security round the clock, where we can have IT suites, and where we can have theater, and where we can have gym and physical facilities, and where we can have creche or school, or where we can have meetings, and where, we need that type of multi-purpose facility that we can call our own. So these are some of the things, the BBC, the Black Building Campaign, that we want to put into effect. And as I said, the 1,000 Fearless, we're looking for Black people. And I would encourage those who are interested in those things I've mentioned to touch base with our brothers at Black Eyes TV, who will be able to pass on to you contact details for myself, and then we can take it from there. But yeah, we are in the business of liberation. We are in no doubt whatsoever that this is our time. We are not pessimistic people. We're not down. We're not doomsayers. We don't believe that Black people are going to be destroyed. We don't believe that we are going to lose this battle or this war. We believe that this is our time and that we are on the rise. But there will be no abracadabra. It's going to take work. It's going to take effort. It's going to take commitment. It's going to take men with testicular fortitude, because right now there are too many of us who are cowardly, too many of us who are afraid of our own shadows, too many of us who are so desperate to please and not offend that we are using this politically correct language now, where we are so mealy-mouthed that we can hardly make sense. We sound like politicians when we open our mouth. We don't make a great deal of sense because we're afraid to be a man, afraid to be a woman. And I'm saying, brothers and sisters, that type of scared to death Negro mentality is only going to get us more pain. It will actually not facilitate our liberation. And so we need people, we need men and women who are forthright, upstanding, strong, unapologetic, especially when it comes to Blackness and our African identity. We must stop this apologizing. Every time you hear a Black person stand up in the public now and says something about Black, they have to, in the same breath, they have to say, and of course, I don't, I include everybody else, and of course, white people as well. And come on, man, stop this nonsense. And so I would encourage us, beloved family, and really, I want to encourage us to also support Black Eyes TV as well. And I really want to thank you, brothers, for, giving me this opportunity, because it's a wonderful thing for us to have some media that is not just local, but global, that we can really start to get our message out. And I would encourage you, brothers, whenever you have the opportunity to get Leo Mohammed on Black Eyes TV 7, that you do so, because we do have a lot of information that we need to share with our people. And, these opportunities cannot be underestimated in terms of their value.
That's so well. Listen, you don't have to tell me twice.
Yes,
I definitely want you again. Yeah, that can definitely work. We want to engage the public in a lot of social issues. So I'm glad to hear that you want to come back on, definitely, and present and give some information. And again, just to stress to the people, I know, so as I said, to our American followers and stuff, they may not really get the closest thing they may have kind of thing to iconic program that they usually will draw to mind is the Cosby Show, but that is How the Real McCoy is a classic for us in the UK. So For anyone who wants to go and check it out, please go online. I encourage you. Yeah, catch some humor, but see the realness. What we was running a very long time ago before, you know, the conscious talk was so fashionable and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
Our brother Leo Mohammed was talking about certain issues with his cast and crew. I've really enjoyed today. Before we go, I know Terry's going to mention about the award show that's coming up. But again, thank you for coming on, brother. We should be doing some more shows on the reparations march, maybe with Esther. We're going to try and get her on, and maybe a few other people. So look out for that.
Yeah, that'd be great, man. That'd be great. If you can get Sister Esther on, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, we originally spoke to her about doing these shows, so it's just working backward in reverse kind of thing, where everyone else has kind of come on and she's the last, but I know she's always doing 101 things. So
you're leaving the last till the best, brother.
All right, all that good stuff. Get me? We can bring the divine feminine energy on here. Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm looking forward to that chat, definitely. But Riggsy,
yeah, as I always say, you know, as I always say, spend black, believe in black, you know, walk black, you know, do everything that you can possibly do as a black person. But as you know, that Black Eye TV is a school of thoughts, and understanding that this is a platform for anyone that has a school of thoughts to come on and give us a dialogue of who they are and what they're about, and giving the information, because we need to galvanize ourselves in the form of unification without association, meaning that we can have, no matter where you're coming from, we want you to give us some form of information that could even probably inspire, make us unite, or become a family. Even if it comes in the forms of economics, whether it comes into forms of spirituality, if it just comes in the forms of thought, even if it comes in the forms of health and well-being, even our history. So it's in that format is that we are trying to work with another organization which is called the Qatar Council. So we want to give gratitude in the format of giving are people that are creating and making history, and people that have done history in the past, and even our ancestors in the past, because our ancestors is our history and our history is our ancestors, which is us. They breathe through us. Without them, there is no us.
Yes, sir.
So understanding that we want to give that gratitude on the 8th of December at the Decorium, 22 Western Road, Wood Green, London. We're working with the Qatar Council in that we're bringing people from the United States, we're bringing people from Africa, we're bringing people from around the world, as well as our community. It's worldwide community, not the not the top of the range celebrities, but the people in the community that are putting in the work, physically, mentally, and spiritually. Because we need to congratulate the people that are doing the work, because they are working their hardest. So we are putting up an award ceremony every year. So the first one is going to be on the 8th of December at the Decorium. If you go to the PatarCouncil.com, you can see the categories, you can see what's going on, you can see what is happening. I'm asking you to check it up and see if you can get yourself to this place. Remember, there is limited seats. We can't get everybody there. Get as many people that we can fulfill these seats at the Decorium, which is the Black Carpet Awards. Not the red carpet, the Black Carpet Awards.
That's right. That's right.
Something of our own. Yeah. And this is what we're asking you to engage, involve yourself in everything we do. Because as I said, my company, my business, my associates is the new beginning, the Black Eyes TV 7. We're all one family. We don't disregard no one. We need to come in that village to educate our youths once again. Let's take control. Don't let others bully us in one way. Let's do our business ourselves. Let's not depend on anyone else. Only us can get ourselves out of our own situations. When you depend on others, they will pull the carpet underneath you and you would lose your identity. So let's not lose it. Let's make a legacy. Let's have that purpose. Let's make that power move. So in saying that, spend black, believe in black, and always be black, and that will get you to where you need to be. Follow the money, and the money will tell you the truth.
That's all. That's all. Can't wait for that award show, people. Support it, support it, support it. And you know my usual message, support black media. Yeah, we have to create our own narrative. We have to tell our own story. We have to get our own information out. Yeah, so you know what Black Eyes TV's remit is all about, working together within the community, highlighting the positive aspects of our community, telling our story. Yeah, it's reflection eternal. That's what we're here to do. Yeah, so again, thank you to all that's tuned in. Thank you to all that's liked, shared, and subscribed. You see it behind me, Black Eyes TV 7 doing this thing big. Check out the shows that we've had the last few nights. Have been powerful. We've had another reparation show that we did yesterday. We celebrated the Khmer New Year as well, early hours of the morning with the new constellation coming in. That was the show we did early hours of this morning. That was powerful with some elders. Look out for some more information, more panel shows, discussions about social issues coming up on the weekend. Support black media. Thank you, people. This has been another Black Eyes TV Productions. Yeah, you know what time it is. Peace.